we're Robin and Steve, and we are preparing to sail from Vanuatu to Australia. We do take our preparation seriously, and so, pancakes. And on our friend's boat, pancakes magically appear through this pancake portal. Thanks, Jude. It was our last meal with Rich and Jude, a nice chance to discuss the weather. We'll be leaving in spicy weather, but then it will calm down and mostly be from behind. High tide could be anywhere from 8:47 to 12:10, depending on where you looked. Nothing agreed. So as our friends Rich and Jude waved us off, we just had to hope that we wouldn't run aground before even leaving Vanuatu. We packed our kayak away and got the ship ready. We wouldn't need the kayak for another week or so. We pulled the anchor up and were off, looking sun-smart if not so stylish. We're not going to see people for quite some time, but Vanuatu seemed to wave us goodbye with its many blowholes. Down below we're well stocked with fruit and vegetables, scurvy prevention. To get the best angle, we were sailing past the northern part of Espiritu Santo. And this was to be our last land and blowhole for many days. The wind was from behind, so we let our mainsail ride out, with a preventer to stop it from accidentally swinging across. And later we pulled out our genoa to stop it flogging in the roll. As we hit the open ocean, we could reflect on the beautiful times we had in Vanuatu. It's a bit over 1,000 nautical miles to sail over Espiritu Santo to Cairns, Australia. And we're slow, so we'd allow 8 to 10 days. We've really loved Vanuatu. Emotions are high when leaving. It's hard to find the words. Securite, securite, securite. All stations, all stations, all stations. The following will be expressed as a montage. Mariners are advised that montages can be up to twice the significant story height and up to 40% of the original story truth. Saw a lot, and yet there's so much more to see here in Vanuatu. Here's where we went. Join the dots, because our Garmin inReach malfunctioned. Farewell Vanuatu and farewell Amelie's. It'll be just us for at least a week. And in reality, we spend most of that time alone, as we take turns on watch. We had a lovely spinnaker run, but not for long. Once winds are above about 12 knots, spinnaker comes down. And as it approached nightfall, Steve reefed the mainsail. Because we're not in a hurry. And at this stage, there's not much to bump into. Or so we thought. What this tiny vessel was doing way out here, we have no idea. In fact, there seemed to be 2 automated vessels circling around. Other than that, there were birds. The sun and the moon and flying fish. Well, ex-flying fish. And 5 kilometres of sea below us. We had just over 1,000 nautical miles to go, nearly due west. And with our sails and wind vane set, there wasn't too much to do. We were lucky that this perfect weather window coincided with a full moon. as it helps to boost the morale on night watches. We were going slowly, but it didn't even matter because there was no bad weather coming. We hadn't seen a whole lot of seabirds around Vanuatu, but out here there were lots. Days slipped by uneventful, which was how we like it. There's so little to see out here that I even filmed a blob of seaweed floating by. Where did it come from? At some stage we jibed, but didn't have to do a whole lot with the sails to stay on course. I had the 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. watch, so at noon I'd revise my sextant skills. Not that we need it now with all of our techno gizmos.
Yes, a frigate!
On passage, Steve and I lived pretty much separately, apart from overlapping to do some bird watching, and for the odd meal, if our appetites align. But when things are going well, there's really not a lot to do. Steve may shave if he feels like it, and I'll always feel like getting upside down if it's calm enough, which it was, during some days. Some days were rollier than others. So our porthole would give us a view of the sea, and then the sky, and then the sea again, as our kettle swayed on the gimbaled stove. And we carried on heading towards the setting sun, enjoying the night moon and the sunrises over the stern. On day 7, as it began to get light, there were more flying fish than I've ever seen on deck. Let us pause to reflect on these lives lost. Speeding along, sometimes surfing at 11.7 knots, with winds of anything from 10 to 26 knots. With the wind so far behind, we were trying a different sleeping arrangement. In the salon, on the settee with a lee cloth, so that there wasn't far to roll. As my evening watch began, there was bird watching, but not in the way that we'd like. Boobies would appear out of nowhere and circle us, keen for a place to rest, but we liked the instruments atop our mast to work. No! Excuse my French, a bird hit the wind generator. That one was okay, but nothing deterred them, shouting, flashing torches. This one's rear end pointed seaward. It could stay. Thankfully, this one decided this surface was not comfy. Sails decorated by cloaca, corrosive bird art. After days of seeing no traces of humans apart from 2 pieces of floating plastic. 3 ships in one day. We were getting close to Australia. Time to start smashing through what vegetables we had left. But rationing the fruit so that we could still snack on a bit each day. Winds eased, so Steve took a reef out of the mainsail. I thought I'd give good grooming a go, but the wind undid that plan pretty quickly. But on to much more tragic news. Weevils in sealed packs of oats. In the interest of biosecurity, I had to tip oats overboard. It was a very emotional day. It was calm enough to rest in my piece of cloth, happy days. And calm enough to practice ukulele on the bow. Happy days for me. And as for Steve, he can wear headphones. Here I am on my morning fish carcass cleanup. A bit later in the day, I do some exercises. In this case, a flash mob dance by myself. And with headphones on so as not to wake Steve. Steve and I overlapped for our many vegetable pasta. It was a bit rolly again. Water flows out of the tap on an angle. On watch, we'd intermittently be splashed by cheeky waves. Rude. We started weaving our way through the Great Barrier Reef. It was time to take down our Vanuatu courtesy flag, which has seen better days, and fly our quarantine flag. It was our last night at sea, and our last bird at sea. They may be messy, but they're so beautiful. I was confused by an AIS boat that seemed to multiply as we got closer.
Yeah, 22. That's the percentage of the net.
Must have been some kind of mass fishing netting operation. Not far to go now, but more dangers about with reefs and ships. And soon the sun rose over familiar landscapes. We had more sail adjustments with many twists and turns as we approached Cairns. Steve radioed into the marina to see what the procedure was. We're close now. That's the Fitzroy Flyer, ferrying tourists to and from Fitzroy Island. Over radio, we heard that a cruise ship was approaching.
Approximately 09.3 hours, inbound for Kennedy Wharf. The vessel is restricted by draft and maneuverability.
Vanuatu and have booking with customs and biosecurity to clear in. Is it still the fact that you go on the end of the E-finger, or where do we go?
So as we sped in to stay out of the cruise ship's way, we were also trying to figure out where we would go to check in to Australia. Yep, we were back in a city now. We moored outside the marina temporarily while we waited to hear where we were supposed to go. And it's a good thing we didn't get in the way of this boat. To use up our last eggs, and because it's tradition, we had prepared pancakes. But that would have to wait. We had an important announcement.
No worries. Well, no, just clarifying, so you won't be able to stay in the marina without comprehensive, but obviously we can do the clearance. So I'm going to put you in berth E14. I've spoken to ABF.
Well, complicated without comprehensive insurance, but still doable. And so it was pancake time. And then we tidied up the boat, ready to berth, and to check officially in to Australia. Our boat is not very manoeuvrable, and by now we were both very sleep deprived, but thankfully we berthed without a problem. And once checked in, we had to skedaddle back out and anchor. But look, feet on ground. We were keen to use our walk-deprived legs. We'd arrived just in time for the Cairns festival, and soon found ourselves in a sea of bubbles, just part of the Cairns festival festivities. So that's it, we made it. We sailed 1,325 nautical miles in about 10 days. And we used the engine for about 8 hours in 10 days. Average speed, 5.5 knots. Maximum speed, 11.7 knots. We'd like to thank our excellent boat, Rakali. Next time we'll chill here for a bit with family before hitting the reefs. Not literally. As we retrace some steps back towards Tasmania.